Allow me to start this unit by citing a teaching episode which was part of a study to show how teachers ask questions. The kind of questions we ask determine the level of thinking we develop. First, we have the low-level question. It demands low-level responses. They require responses of the simple recall or memory type of the answers. Examples: what was the temperature range yesterday? What insects transmit dengue fever? What part of the plant serve as its factory? Next is the high-level questions, call for higher order thinking ability. Why and how questions require analysis of observations. The conclusion is arrived at after weighing evidences or establishing a pattern out of a recorded tabulation of the data. Examples: why does temperature continue to rise from early morning till about noontime? How does the hydrologic cycle occur? This part explains that the quality of the questions affects the quality of the student thinking. If we ask simple recall questions, students will only remember information. But if we ask why and how questions, we encourage them to think more deeply, look for patterns, and explain ideas in their own words. This helps them develop problem solving and critical thinking skills. In short, the question determines the kind of thinking. Now let's talk about the type of questions. These are the type of response that we ask. First, we have the soliciting. When we say soliciting, this type of ask for information. Examples: what time did you expose the plant to direct to the sunlight? Which are the materials that conduct electricity? Soliciting questions simply ask students to provide facts or details. These questions are useful when you need information from the students, especially during experiments or observations. They do not require deep thinking, they just ask students to recall or report something. Second, we have the directing. This type proposes the course of action to take or guides one in thinking of an alternative. Examples: how can an electromagnetic be made stronger? How can you reach the town 1 hour earlier? When we say directing questions, it is to guide the student in planning or thinking of ways to improve something. These questions help students identify steps, solutions, or better methods. They are helpful when the teacher wants to encourage a problem solving. Third, we have the evaluating. This type calls for weighing evidences or assessing the effect of some factors or condition. Examples: why did the insect die in a tightly closed container? Why do wet clothes dry faster on a sunny day? When we say evaluating questions, we ask students to judge or analyze a situation. Students must explain the reasons based on what they know or have observed. These questions help students understand the cause and the effect relationships and make conclusions based on evidence. For the last type of question, we have the responding. This type asks that something be done. Examples: why don't you wake up early so you will not be late for the trip? Which part of the book will you consult for the meaning of some terms? When we say responding, it is the questions encourage students to take action or apply what they know. These questions guide them toward doing something practical, like changing behavior or looking for information in the right place. Now let's talk about the purpose for asking. Under the purpose for asking, we have for assessing cognition. This type of questions are used to determine one's knowledge in understanding. They promote high level thinking, divergent questions, and open ended inquiries, call up analysis, and evaluation. Examples: what is likely to happen if the ozone layer of the atmosphere continue to deteriorate? Why is sound heard louder when underwater than out of it? These questions check both what students know and how well they understand it. Instead of just recalling facts, students must explain ideas, analyze situations, and think deeply. These questions help teachers see if students really understand the lesson, not just memorize it. Next, we have for verification. It determines the exactness or the accuracy of the result of an activity or performance. Example, was the weight of liquid displays exactly the same as the weight of the object immersed in it? Why is lightning seen before the thunder is heard? So under the verification questions, it confirms if the students' results are correct or if the observation matched the expected outcome. These are often asked in experiments or investigations. They help students double check their work and develop accuracy. Next, we have for creative thinking. It probes into one's originality. Example, how will you present the layers of the earth to your class? Simulate the eruption of the Mount Mayon. The question may ask for people's own ideas or new ways of doing things. Example, how can you demonstrate soil-less gardening? So under the creative thinking questions, it encourages students to think beyond the usual and come up with new ideas or approaches. These questions are useful when you want students to show imagination, creativity, or innovation in their work. Next, we have for evaluating. It elicits responses that include judgments, values, and choice. It also asks personal opinions about an event or policy of a person. Example, is your dean a good manager? It may be intended to find out the effectiveness of a teaching technique or diagnose difficulties and weaknesses. Example, was your teacher's slide presentation well done? So under for evaluating questions, we ask students to make a judgment or decision. They must support their answer with reasoning or personal assessment. These questions help students practice giving opinions and evaluating situations or performances. Next, we have for productive thinking. It includes cognitive reasoning. It analyzes facts, recognizes patterns or trends, and invokes memory and recall. Example, why was our fourth secretary of the Department of Agriculture successful with the small landowners? How can we apply the law of conservation of energy? Productive thinking, it combines different skills, remembering facts, analyzing patterns, and reasoning. These questions help students build connections between ideas and apply what they have learned to real situations. Next, we have for motivating. Before discussing the lesson, a number of questions about the topic can serve to arouse their interest and focus attention. It attempts to put students in the right mood. Example, would you like to know how your favorite flower can remain fresh and longer? Did you ever train a pet? So, under for motivating questions, we used to get these students excited or curious before the lesson begins. They help capture attention and prepare the class mentally so they become more engaged in the upcoming discussions. Next, we have for instructing. The question asks for useful information. It directs, guides, and advice on what and how to do an activity. Example, what are the steps in performing an experiment? For under the instructing questions, these are likely giving students directions in the form of a question. They guide students on what to do, how to do it, and in what order. These questions help students complete tasks the right way. Now let's talk about the level of the lesson objective. Under the level, we have the two level. It is the low level and the high level. Now let's talk about the low level questions. They include memory questions or those that require simple recall. Examples, define energy, state the first law of motion. So under the low-level questions, these are the basic and focus on checking if students can remember information. They are useful for reviewing facts, but they do not develop deeper understanding. While we say high-level questions, these questions call for respondents' ability to analyze, evaluate, and solve problems. Examples: what is the relationship between the distance of a planet and its period of revolution? Why does temperature rise towards the noontime? So, under the high level questions, it requires students to think carefully, make connections, and solve problems. These questions help develop critical thinking because they push students beyond memorizing facts. Now, let's talk about the extent of inquiry desired. So, under the extent of inquiry desired, we have convergent and divergent question. So, under the convergent questions, there are questions that require a single predictable answer. Examples are those that call for defining, stating, interpreting, and summarizing. Examples: when does the lunar eclipse occur? So, convergent questions have only one correct answer. So, student must provide precise information. These questions are good for checking accuracy and comprehension. So, next we have the divergent questions. They require two respondents to think in different directions, to think of alternative actions, or to arrive at own decision. Example: why are you voting for him? What will happen if you leave it under direct sunlight for a week? So, under the diversion questions, it allowed multiple possible answers. This helps students think creatively, explore ideas, and express personal reasoning or predictions. Another, let's talk about guiding how to respond. First, we have the rhetorical. So, under the rhetorical, these are questions that are often asked in a fast pace and sometimes do not require an answer. Example: aren't they smooth like silk? Would you like to go there someday? Rhetorical questions are not meant to be answered. They are used by teachers to emphasize a point, build interest, or add emotion to the discussion. Next, we have the informational. These are questions that require one to supply information. Example: what forces keep a satellite in its orbit? So, when we say informational questions, we ask for facts or explanations. They help check whether students understand the lesson or the content. Next, you have the leading. These questions give a clue to the right answer. Example: based on the number of the legs, which of them is an insect? So, when we say leading questions, it guides students toward the correct answer by providing hints. These are helpful when students need support or are unsure. Next, we have probing. These are questions that ask for applications of principle learned. Example: why is it classified as a third class level? So, under the probing questions, it encourages students to explain further or apply what they have learned. They help students think deeper and give more complete answers. This discussion explains the different types of questions teachers can ask and how each one influences students' thinking. Some questions simply check recall, while others push learners to think more deeply, be creative, solve problems, or analyze ideas. Teachers also use questions for various purposes, such as checking understanding, confirming answers, motivating students, or guiding classroom activities. Some questions lead to one correct answer, which it falls under conversion, while other allow multiple possible responses, it falls under diversion. Overall, it highlights that the way a teacher frames a question has a significant impact on how students learn and think.
So good day everyone. So I am your next teacher. My name is Ira Lumarak Baglis from BSED English 2A. So now in this lesson, I am going to discuss about the questioning technique. questioning technique. So questioning is an integral part of teaching and learning. So it means asking questions is necessary part of teaching and learning. So the teacher's questioning technique would depend on the number of interactions that occur during and immediately after a question is asked. So how a teacher asks questions changes based on what's happening while they're asking. So the following are some reminders on how to improve one's questioning technique. So first, provide sufficient wait time. So give people enough time to think before they answer. So wait time refers to the pause needed by the teacher after asking a question. This is the time when she waits for an answer. So a number of things to consider are: A, the level of difficulty of the question. Letter B, the type of response required. And letter C, the background knowledge the respondents process. And the letter D, the intellectual ability of the respondent. So the amount of wait time depends on how hard the question is, what kind of answer you want, what the person knows, and how smart the person is. An average of 2 to 5 seconds is sufficient for what questions and about 5 to 10 seconds for why and how questions. So, what questions need less wait time? About 2 to 5 seconds, while why and how questions need more 5 to 10 seconds. Usually, there is a need to revise or improve the question if it proves difficult at the moment. So, if the question is too hard, try to make it better or easier. So, this is a second wait time. This is another moment to wait. So, a longer pause would encourage the second wait time. So, a longer pause would encourage the students to continue thinking. So waiting longer helps students think more deeply. In most cases, they are able to think of the best answer. So usually, they can come up with a good answer. So the follow-up questions can lead to extended ideas instead of short memory questions. So asking more questions can help people think more creatively, not just remember facts. Providing sufficient wait time can achieve the following. Waiting long enough helps with these things. So motivate slow thinking students to respond or encourage students who take longer to think. Improves the quality of the responses made. So encourages the students to ask their own questions. Helps students become curious and ask questions. So increase the number of correct responses, gets more right answers, lead the teacher to vary her questions, or helps the teacher ask different kinds of questions. Provides time for the teachers to evaluate the answers given. Gives the teacher time to think about the answers. So know your own style of questioning. So, request a colleague to critique your own style as to kind of questions often asked, amount of wait time provided, and the type of responses required. Knowing your errors in questioning would make it easy to effect the necessary changes. So, knowing what you do wrong helps you get better. Too many what questions will be avoided. So, try not to ask too many what questions. Ask different kinds of questions. Training and employing divergent, high-level, and open-ended questions improves one's questioning technique. So practicing different kinds of questions helps you ask better questions. Fully aware of the instructional activities set for a particular lesson, a teacher would be able to frame more interesting and thought-provoking questions rather than the memory type. So when you know what you want students to learn, you can ask questions that are more interesting and make them think harder and not just remember facts. So provide cues. Teachers are encouraged to provide immediate cues in order to save an unanswered question or an incomplete answer. So teachers should give hints right away if a student can answer or only gives part of the answer. It could be done by acknowledging the correct or incorrect of answers and adding attention to the wrong portion, supplying hints or tips, immediately asking another questions to clarify the former, and redirecting or focusing. So they can do this. So consider the individual abilities and interests of the students. Think about what each student is good at and what they like. So experience success in giving correct answers promote a feeling of confidence among them. So when students answer correctly, they feel more confident. Select the brighter ones to respond to high-level questions. So choose the students who are doing well to answer harder questions. An approving nod, smile, or a praise for an answer given will encourage them to volunteer own ideas. So if you nod, smile, or praise them, they'll be more likely to share their ideas. So next is how to encourage questions from students. So how to get students to ask questions? First is children are by nature curious. So meaning kids naturally want to know things. They ask questions about almost anything they see and hear around them. They ask casual, incidental, and even funny questions. So they ask all kinds of questions, even silly ones. So the teacher's reaction to their inquisitiveness can motivate or discourage them from asking more questions. So how a teacher reacts can make students want to ask more or stop asking. So some may give honest answers, others may instantly stop them from attempting to ask more. So if you give good answers, they'll ask more. If you don't, they might stop. So how can we encourage children to ask questions? So what can we do to get these kids to ask questions? So first, the teacher's questioning technique is the key in encouraging students to ask questions, or correct, relevant, and high-level questions. So the way a teacher asks questions is most important for getting students to ask good questions. Her questions can serve as good examples. So the teacher's questions can show students how to ask good questions. Number 2, attend to their questions. So pay attention to the questions students ask. Avoid dismissing irrelevant questions. So do not ignore questions that don't seem important. So assist in clarifying or focusing in order to solicit correct responses. So help students make their questions clearer so they can get good answers. Number 3, praise the correctly formulated question. So tell students when they ask a good question, it develops confidence and make knowledge search easy and satisfying. So this makes them feel confident and makes learning fun. Number 4, allot an appropriate time slot for open questioning. Set aside time for students to ask any questions they want. So this will encourage the slow thinkers to participate freely. So that would be all about my topic.